Immortal Demon of Konoha, the ninja who broke all rules. Please like, share, and subscribe. Episode 71, The Strange Power of the Tsunade Hand, the Red Lotus captured. After some disguise, Red Lotus and his party came to the gate of Konoha. They did not use transfiguration. Although the transfiguration technique is convenient, as the most basic low-level ninjutsu, it is too easy to be recognized. There's no problem with identity, you can go in. There were 2 Konoha ninjas in charge of guarding the gate, one of whom took the initiative to ask for the identity documents of Red Lotus and the others, and after reading it, he nodded his head and signaled that they could enter the village. Things have come to this point and everything is going well. The time when the Red Lotus came to Konoha had already been agreed, and the person who had just taken the initiative to check their identity was actually the innering of the Great Snake Maru. So it will never be revealed that their identities are fake. In this way, the group entered the bustling wooden leaves and found a house along the agreed route. After looking around, Red Lotus walked over to the door and knocked. 3 long, 2 short, 1 long, 1 short. Then just listen to the creak. The door was opened. Red Lotus led his men in and saw the medicine man who had already been ordered to lurk. "What is the condition of the wooden leaves now?" Red Lotus asked. "We've got a traitor inside." The medicine man replied, "Fortunately, those who should not know each other's identities have not yet caused much impact. But the next move must be vigilant." The medicine man pushed his glasses. "Konoha must be alert now. Don't worry about it so much." Red Lotus waved her hand. "Not long after Sanshiro died, the one named Uchiha Aoji who had just ascended to the throne should still be busy rectifying it now, and he should not have so much energy to notice our existence." Suddenly, there was a knock outside the door, and they did not follow the code they had agreed. The crowd suddenly changed their minds. The medicine man hurriedly signaled them to hide in the house, pulled out a handful of bitterness and hid behind him, and carefully paced behind the door. "Who?" 5 generations of Naruto. The wooden door suddenly flew in backwards, and was dodged by the medicine man. He looked out in amazement. I saw Aoji standing leisurely outside the door, surrounded by the female master and apprentice of Tsunade and Shizune. And behind them, in addition to the many elites of the dark side, there are also Kakashi and Akai, the 2 leaders of the Konoha Shinobu. Kakashi's feelings for Aoji are complicated. When 3 generations forced him to hand over the riding wheel left by his friend with 2, this incident made him feel humiliated. But that thing was the order of 3 generations after all. It was not an active request of the young priest. Therefore, he also knew intellectually that he could not blame Aoji, plus now Aoji had become Naruto. Kakashi could only bow down. "Lord Naruto, what does this mean?" The medicine man barely managed to squeeze out a smile. "I'm just a small underdog in the village. Do you need to use such a big pomp to see me?" "I'm just interested in your guests," Aoji said calmly. "Where do I have any guests?" Yakuza showed a confused expression and walked very naturally to Aoji. "I think there must be a misunderstanding in this matter. Should you be?" The moment he was about to approach Aoji, he suddenly launched like a cheetah. Holding Kushi, he rushed towards Aoji. But the Tsubasa, who had been prepared long ago, stood in his way. "Princess Tsunade?" Of course, Yakuza had noticed the existence of Tsunade and remembered that her weakness was hemophobia. In fact, he pretended to attack Ching Tong in order to lure Gang Hand into attacking. Although he had never fought with Aoji, Yakushi did not dare to underestimate him, and the person who could become the leader of the strongest ninja village could not only have power and no strength, although he could be called an elite ninja, but most of them would not be his opponents. Moreover, the current situation is that the enemy is outnumbered, and if we can't make a quick decision, it will still be a dead end. Therefore, from the beginning, Yakushi too set his sights on Tsubasa. If you can take advantage of the weakness of her hemophobia, you have a chance to defeat the enemy, and once you can hold the princess of the special identity hostage, you will have the opportunity to use this as a chip to let your side escape. However, the ideal is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. The medicine man was between the electric light and flint, and his backhand pierced his palm with bitterness, but the hand was indifferent in the face of the blood, and he smashed the whole person of the medicine man out with a fierce punch. The strange power of the Tsunade hand has a powerful destructive power, and even with the recovery ability of the medicine master, it is beaten to death under this punch. Aoji didn't even move a finger the whole time. He just took the coffee handed by the silent voice next to him and took a leisurely sip. Since Yu Yuan became the captain of the Dark Ministry, Shizune was chosen as Aoji's assistant. His main job is to help him organize his papers, arrange his itinerary, and when he is interested, he will also use it as a tool to relax. And she often served Aoji with Tsunade, the beloved master. Now Tsunade has become Aoji's #1 thug. Since her hemophobia was a well-known weakness, since Aoji planned to keep her as a thug, he naturally would not give the enemy an opportunity to take advantage of it. He had already helped Tsunade overcome his fear of blood. Now the only thing she really fears is Aoji. Get out of the way, now you have nowhere to escape. Tsunade stood in the doorway, his eyes filled with domineering. It seems that we have indeed underestimated the wood leaves. Red Lotus and the others came out of the shadows in the room. Unfortunately, this mission is going to disappoint Lord Great Snake Maru. Just grab it. Aoji said leisurely, this is your only way to live. We don't need a way to survive. Red Lotus's gaze was incomparably firm. Since we dared to come to Konoha, we were already ready to die for the loyalty of the Great Snake Maru. Have you really decided to fight? In the silence, Aoji had already opened the Eternal Kaleidoscope and pulled the Red Lotus into the world of moon reading. Death is an incomparably terrible thing, and being alive is the greatest luck. Is this the real power of riding the wheel? At this time, the Red Lotus had already found herself unable to move. Her heart suddenly set off a terrifying wave. Originally, I thought that with the unique crystal escape, I was already a real master, but I didn't expect that under Aoji's eyes, there was no resistance at all. No matter what, I will never bend my eyes. Red Lotus still said unwaveringly, no matter what, I will not betray Lord Great Snake Maru. Then let's wait and see. Episode 72 Special Interrogation of the Red Lotus, the true body of the Great Snake Maru. I advise you to give up, I will never spit out any information. In the interrogation room, Red Lotus's 10 fingers had been put on a special torture device, so that she could no longer seal it. Her arms and legs were also bound to the torture chair. But her eyes did not give in. Of course, this is largely because Aoji hasn't been serious about her. At that time, the release of Tsukiyomi at the first time was only to tire her spirit like a Itachi torturing Kakashi, so that she could be caught alive. I think you may have misunderstood. Aoji said lightly, one of your companions died and 3 were captured alive, and I handed them all over to the torture team, but only for interrogating you. Do you know why? Isn't it because I'm the captain of the team? Red Lotus didn't even think about it, so you think you can dig up the most important information in me, right? If that's the case, shouldn't I have handed you over to the torture squad? Aoji smiled and shook his head. When it comes to torture, they are experts in this area. Then what are you for? An ominous feeling arose in Red Lotus's heart. What do you think? Aoji walked leisurely to Red Lotus's side, his fingers lightly rubbing her cheek. The more beautiful and powerful a woman is, the less safe she is in the ninja world. Didn't you ever realize that? You. Red Lotus's pupils shrank suddenly. What the hell do you want to do? What do you think? Aoji's hand touched her belt, but I'm still curious, since you female ninjas can even put life and death aside, haven't you ever considered being treated like this? Stop. Red Lotus twisted her body desperately, trying to avoid the clutches of Aoji. Are you still a Naruto of the Noblewood Leaf? So I've locked the door back. Aoji whispered in her ear, no one will know what happened in this torture room. I am a vile and shameless sex ghost, and out of this door, I am still a dignified Naruto. Wait a minute. How are you going to let me go? Red Lotus was very flustered. What do you think? Aoji kissed her earlobe lightly. What chips do you have to stop me? Intelligence, I can improve intelligence. Red Lotus said hurriedly. Didn't you say you would never sell the Great Snake Pill? Aoji raised an eyebrow. No, I mean. Red Lotus laboriously organized the language and the confusion. In the process of working for the Great Snake Pill Lord, I have been exposed to all kinds of information from the ninja world, and these information are not related to the Great Snake Pill itself, but there must be information that is useful to you. That's a very convincing reason. Aoji finally stopped moving, but your information may not be useful to me. You can ask me a question. Red Lotus's train of thought became clear. Whatever questions you want to know that have nothing to do with the Great Snake Pill Lord, if it happens that I know the answer, I will tell you, as long as you promise to stop me. Then how can I ensure that the information you provide is true? Since I have fallen into your hands, wouldn't I be worse off if you found out that what I said was false? Red Lotus bit her lip. Rest assured, I won't lie. Very well, it seems that you are not stupid. Aoji nodded satisfactorily, but there is only one thing I want to know. You really don't know the answer. In short, I want to know the whereabouts of a person named Fei Duan. Really? Are you looking for a flying segment? Red Lotus's eyes were full of surprise. Oh? Looks like you know where he is? That's right. Red Lotus nodded heavily. Although everything is due to chance, I do know where he has recently appeared, and with your Konoha's tracking ability, as long as you know this, you will definitely be able to find him. What a bonus. Aoji couldn't help but laugh. Then tell the truth about what you know. Boom boom boom. Just then, there was a sudden knock on the door of the interrogation room. Who? Aoji frowned. It's me. The sound of red beans. Aoji thought for a moment and walked over to open the locked door. Is there anything urgent? There's a guy who wants to confess. Hondo, dressed in the torture team's black trench coat, said very briefly. He said that he was willing to provide important information about the Great Snake Maru, including the location of the underground base where he was staying, but he had a request. What are the requirements? Aoji frowned. He must come forward in person before he will confess all this. Hondo said. It's kind of interesting. Aoji smiled a little. Then I'll go with you. And this one? Hondo glanced at Red Lotus sitting on the interrogation chair and licked his lips with some bloodlust. Do you want to leave it to me to deal with? No, I'll go back and deal with her. Aoji walked out of the interrogation room with Hondo, and after relocking the door of the interrogation room, he summoned 2 more members of the torture team. Be careful outside and don't let her have a chance to escape. The 2 men quickly and solemnly agreed. Aoji then followed Hondo to another interrogation room to meet the man who claimed to be confiding important information about him. It was a man with a pale face. After entering the door of the interrogation room, Aoji glanced at the other person casually. He suddenly felt something strange. The man in front of him had a strange temperament, and there was a cold-blooded, animal-like coldness in his eyes. You're finally here. The man revealed a somber smile. I already knew that Tuanzang had left a dark chess piece, so I deliberately let him know the news of the Red Lotus and his party, in order to come to this moment. It turned out to be all a layout. Between the electric light and Flint, Aoji already understood everything. You mixed in the Red Lotus squad and were deliberately captured by us, just to get the opportunity to kill me as an interrogator, right? Your reaction is very fast, at least much stronger than 3 generations of old men. Although the man's arms and legs were bound, and his 10 fingers could not be imprinted by the shackles of the torture device, his mouth opened abruptly, and 2 pale hands were stretched out from inside, and then a man drilled out of the mouth that was stretched to the extreme. It's like a snake shedding its skin. And he was the Great Snake Maru. Episode 73, The Conspiracy of the Great Snake Maru, The Dangerous Partnership. Great Snake Maru. Seeing his former teacher, Hondo's emotions quickly changed from surprise to anger. Her first reaction was to go out and shake people. This is an elite wooden leaf that can gather a large number of masters in a few moments. Even with the strength of the Great Snake Pill, it was impossible for him to retreat alone and retreat with his whole body. But when she turned, it was found that the door of the interrogation room had been wrapped in a layer of soft flesh, including the ceiling above the head, which had also become a wall of flesh. The Great Snake Pill was obviously channeled out of the stomach wall of a large snake. This trick really surprised me. Facing the Great Snake Maru, who had escaped from the shackles, Aoji sat very calmly across from him. But don't you really think that you can kill me without the protection of the Tsunade and the Dark Elite? If I don't have that confidence, why would I create your own chance? The Great Snake Maru revealed a cold smile. What if you kill me? Aoji said curiously, although the current wooden leaves are not as good as before, with the strength of the whole village, it should not be difficult to leave you, right? I really don't have a complete sense of getting out. The Great Snake Maru's voice was hoarse. However, it is not so easy to kill me. I don't deny that. Aoji nodded. In a way, I also think you are the hardest person to kill in the entire ninja world. You don't seem to be afraid? The snake pupil of the Great Snake Maru stared at Aoji. Or do you not understand that you have died 9 times now? I know that you can become Naruto, the strength will not be too bad, but blind self-confidence can kill people. I'll give you this sentence back as it is. Aoji smiled indifferently. Of course, he would not be afraid of the Great Snake Maru. Even if he didn't have his own strong strength, as long as the demon passport was still there, unless someone had fired a cold gun in advance, he would be absolutely invincible in a one-on-one battle. Even if the spot comes, you have to kneel. However, today is really a good day for double happiness. Aoji said with great satisfaction, having received the news about the flying section and seeing you as I wished, I should know that I deliberately asked the Dark Ministry to search for your tracks, but so far nothing has been gained. I didn't expect to see you like this way at the end. Very good, really good. Aoji sighed leisurely, it seems that even God has blessed me. You want to see me? The Great Snake Maru came with some interest. What do you want me to do? I'll tell you soon. Aoji said calmly, after all, one of the prerequisites for our next deal is that you must first become my prisoner. Is this the young man now? The Great Snake Maru laughed and said, then I'll fulfill you once and let you see what a ninja who came out of the war years looks like. The battle between shadows and shadows thus began between the words. Aoji opened Susanoo at the first moment. With Susanoo's absolute defense, Aoji took the red bean into the scope of protection, and then began to fight with the Great Snake Maru, and with the pupil of both eyes, he fought with the Great Snake Maru. The interrogation room was quickly reduced to rubble, and the fighting spread to the surrounding area. More and more ninjas are starting to hear the news. However, in the duel between the two shadow-level masters, none of them had room to intervene, and they also found that Aoji was at ease, and there was no need for them to sacrifice their lives to rescue. Although there was no sound in their mouths, all kinds of thoughts had already arisen in their hearts. Is this a shadow-level battle? The fifth generation of Naruto is really worthy of being the leader of the younger generation, and he can actually fight with the Great Snake Maru, one of the three ninjas. No wonder he can sit on the throne of Naruto at such a young age. No. Not evenly divided, he clearly is. The whole time I was suppressing that legendary Great Snake Maru. As the battle continued, a surprising fact soon appeared in front of everyone's eyes, that is, although the Great Snake Maru launched various ferocious and strange attacks, it had no effect in front of Qingtong. Those attacks melt like ice and snow that meets hot oil. Of all the ninjas watching the battle, Hondo felt this the most, and she was under the protection of Susanoo and deeply felt the unshakable power of Aoji. The Great Snake Pill teacher, who had once been the most terrifying in her heart, was now becoming more and more small and powerless. But Aoji's figure became incomparably tall. At this moment, she had already felt what the final outcome of this battle would be. The ultimate winner will be the unscathed Aoji. It seems that I have indeed been eliminated by the times. The Great Snake Maru finally had to admit his defeat, and his once unshakable mentality of being a strong man was also greatly damaged. Now we can talk, shall we? Aoji looked calm. What do you want to talk about? The Great Snake Pill looked gloomy. Let's talk in another place. Aoji glanced at the Konoha ninjas who had already arrived at the battlefield, and then continued, on top of this ruin, it is not suitable to talk about any deal or cooperation, right? The Great Snake Maru nodded. Then Aoji took him to a nearby intact interrogation room. After signaling Hondo and the others to back off, Aoji formally offered cooperation to the Great Snake Maru. It's no secret, I'm also very interested in immortality, so I want to invest in your research in this area. Of course, the eternal life I want is not an immortal rebirth that requires a transformation of containers. What I want is the eternal life of the individual. Aoji said calmly, as a master of life sciences, I believe that no one in the entire ninja world will be more likely to realize this proposition than you. Oh, it's so rare. The Great Snake Pill evoked a hint of laughter. Are you still so young? Have you realized the preciousness of life? Just because my life is full of fun. Aoji also smiled, I don't want this fun to end with my death, so I want to pursue eternal life, for which I can provide you with funding and material for human experimentation. And that medicine man, I didn't kill him, so I can be your assistant when the time comes. Aoji said, I'll set up an underground research institute for you on the outskirts of Kiba, so that even if you don't leave the house, you can have everything you need. I guess I can't lead the institute one step at a time, right? The Great Snake Maru squinted. Of course. Aoji nodded, you're the S-class traitor that Kiba is wanted, and as the new Naruto, even if I don't kill you, I have to imprison you in name only, otherwise I won't be able to deal with you. Of course, to be fair, restricting your freedom is also in keeping with my intentions. I guess you wouldn't have refused all this, would you? Aoji smiled indifferently, otherwise, the battle we just fought would have lost its meaning. Episode 74 Before the wind and rain come, mother and daughter meet honestly. The Great Snake Maru eventually accepted Aoji's offer. More precisely, he couldn't refuse. In an area on the outskirts of Konoha, Aoji carved out a forbidden area and built an underground research institute in it. This is also equivalent to the prison of the Great Snake Maru. Of course, it was extremely difficult to trap the Great Snake Maru. Therefore, in addition to having the absolutely loyal Dark Ministry on the periphery, Aoji also had the sealing class and the junction class seal the place blockade. At the same time, he also installed 4 real shadow-level strongmen inside the research institute, where everyone was strictly forbidden to enter to monitor the Great Snake Maru. That's the historical fire shadow reborn from the Aoji dirt. With this layer of defense line, the Great Snake Pill basically couldn't make any changes, and studying the mysteries of life was originally his lifelong pursuit. Now that he has Aoji's full support and materials, he himself does not have the urgency to get out of trouble. For a moment, the two sides struck a balance that could be reconciled without incident. Of course, the study of eternal life cannot be achieved overnight, although with the top researcher of the Great Snake Maru, it is impossible to determine when a breakthrough will be made. But Aoji didn't sit still and wait. While enjoying the smooth richness of Tsunade's hand, he got the secret of maintaining youth from her mouth. While learning on your own, he also shared the secret technique with his women. It was only shared with them because Tsunade is too proud of her stature, coupled with slightly childish facial features. It is easier to make people interested in the contrast, so since getting this Tsunade princess, Aoji has loved her many times. This, of course, will make them jealous. Eat vinegar from Tsunade's hands. But now that they have obtained the secret technique from the Tsunade hand, they are short of hands, and naturally they are not embarrassed to be jealous anymore. They began their cultivation with Aoji. In addition to his daily routine, Aoji also made some adjustments to keep his current power structure. He changed some of his strategies. Aoji had originally planned to gradually disintegrate the power of the major ninja clans before becoming Naruto, but now that the Wind Kingdom has changed, other countries are likely to be shaken as well. The ninja world is likely to move towards turmoil ahead of schedule. The risk of war is rising. After all, the old pattern of the ninja world has always been that Kiba has taken advantage of everything. This is because of the victory of previous wars, and secondly, it is also because of the behavior of the daimyo of various countries to suppress their own ninja villages. Once these ninja villages had removed their shackles, their next actions were simply predictable. The poorer the ninja village, the more it will want to use the war to reverse the situation. Therefore, Aoji can only temporarily put aside the idea of dismembering the major ninja clans and unite them against external risks first. To this end, he made Nara Shikahisa the general staff officer of Kiba, Hinata Hida the honorary head of the inspection department, and Yamanaka Kaichi was appointed as the intelligence chief of the Dark Ministry, responsible for combing and reporting on various large and small information obtained by the Dark Intelligence Network. Of course, the secret missions, including searching for the whereabouts of the flying section, are still personally responsible for the Dark Commander-in-Chief of the Dark Section. Today, Aoji has obtained the closest traces of the flying section. And this is all thanks to the information provided by Red Lotus. Of course, Red Lotus's spirit has been very low lately. Originally planning to be loyal to the Great Snake Maru to the death, she turned around to find that the Great Snake Maru had established a cooperative relationship with Aoji, although nominally permanent imprisonment, but the two obviously had a tacit understanding. This made her feel very embarrassed. Whether it is to die unyieldingly, or to surrender to softness, it seems that it is not appropriate. However, Aoji didn't have the effort to take care of her. He's been busy lately. The first was about Inuzuka flowers and Inuzuka paws, and after a period of deliberation, he finally let things go in the direction he wished. Inuzuka Hana saw the picture under his guidance. But somehow, she peeked through the crack in the door at all the way. Strange feelings also welled up inside. However, just when she was stunned, she found that the door in front of her was suddenly opened, and Aoji appeared in front of her with a smile on her lips. Peeking at others is not a good child's behavior. Inuzuka bit her lip. She felt a pang of emptiness in her heart. Obviously, this guy did a bad thing. Why is the person who is worried about it himself? Is it just because of your own voyeuristic behavior? No, it shouldn't be. Inuzuka shook her head secretly, finding another answer in her mind. Unfortunately, that answer cannot be made explicit. Come in, now that everyone is a family, there is something that can naturally be met frankly. Aoji gently lifted up Inuzuka Hana, who was paralyzed on the ground. Daughter, daughter. Inuyasha wrapped herself in a quilt in shame, and her face still had a strange redness, and she felt very sorry for her daughter at this time. You see, you've scared her. Aoji pressed against Inuzuka Hana's ear and whispered, after all, she is the mother who has raised you for so many years, go and comfort her, don't let her be so panicked again. Under Aoji's demonic whisper, Inuzuka Hana Ghost sent the god to the ground a step forward. The door was gently closed behind her. After this candid meeting, Aoji had a new pleasure, but he was certainly not a person who was easily satisfied. Mr. Hai invited me to your house for dinner. After hanging the sign that there is something going on to close, in the flower shop of the Ino's house, which has been locked up, Aoji whispered in Yamanaka's ear, probably to thank me for promoting him to be the chief of intelligence of the Shadow Ministry. Yamanaka bit her lip, and there was a kind of charm in her eyes. Thank you for your appreciation of Kaichi. Habits are a terrible thing. Ever since Seiji first showed the demon passport in front of Rino Yamanaka's eyes, they had come into contact with each other many times. Those good memories don't go away. They were all preserved in the mind of Rino Yamanaka. Therefore, after the formation of inertia, even if the demon passport is not displayed, Yamanaka Rino will no longer reject Aoji. After all, they've happened so many times. Here's a bag of good medicine. Aoji took out a bag of powdered things and put them into Rino Yamanaka's arms, put a little of it in Mr. Kaichi's wine glass at dinner, so that he can get a good night's sleep tonight. Remember, you can only put a little bit, otherwise it will be easy to detect afterwards. Yamanaka Lino nodded with a red face. Episode 75, The Dark Storm of the Ninja Realm, The Afternoon Tea of the Wives. Kakashi leads an elite squad and 2 temporary teams of perception squads as they spice through a dense forest. They were in a hurry to complete a very important task assigned by Aoji. That is to capture the flying segment. Based on the information obtained from the Red Lotus, Aoji judged that the current Fei Duan had not yet joined Shao and was running around in order to spread the cult. At this time, he can be said to be in a state of isolation and helplessness. Regarding the immortal body of the flying segment, Aoji also revealed it to Kakashi, and explained to him the method of capturing the flying segment. As the tail of the Shao organization crane in the original work, as long as the limbs of the flying section are cut off, he can only stand still. Except for his immortal body, he really had nothing to fear. Therefore, Aoji was convinced that with Kakashi's tactical level, with the support of intelligence, capturing the flying segment was only a matter of hand. But Kakashi accepted the task. But I felt very uneasy inside. He was not worried about his inability to complete the task, but worried about the safety of the current wooden leaf. The overly fertile wooden leaves have already attracted the attention of the major ninja villages, especially the Sand Ninja village of the Wind Country, which has recently made some disturbing moves. Although the two sides have always been allies. But anyone knows that this so-called alliance is as fragile as a piece of paper. It can tear at any time. Therefore, in Kakashi's cognition, in this case, the manpower should be shrunk and the border should be increased to deter the village of Shain, which has clearly had a bad intention. However, Aoji did not issue an order in this regard. It was simply to strengthen the surveillance of the Sand Ninja village, and more eyeliner was sent to spy on their every move. That's all. Kakashi's very existence as a well-known Konoha technician was a kind of deterrent, but Aoji transferred him to a mission thousands of miles away, further weakening Kiba's own defenses. This behavior was incomprehensible in Kakashi's eyes. I hope Konoha can survive this level. Kakashi prayed silently in his heart, because he knew that most of the other ninja villages had already begun to act in secret. Land of Earth, Iwakuma Village. In the office of tying, the 3rd generation of tying Onogi put down the letter on the table and sneered, this 4th generation of Wind Shadows has a really big appetite, and the internal strife in the Wind Country has not been sorted out, and they are worried about invading Konoha. Is he inviting you to join forces with Kiba? The bright black earth raised an eyebrow. That's right. Anoki nodded, and according to what Thaxon said, he has already joined forces with the Great Snake Maru. If not, he probably wouldn't dare to be so radical. After all, Kiba is not so easy to mess with. Hasn't that great snake pill already been caught by Kiba? Black Earth cocked his slender white and tender legs. I remember that Konoha has already imprisoned him. How can he cooperate with the 4 generations of Wind Shadows? The Great Snake Maru was imprisoned, but his men did not. Anoki brushed his beard and looked like he was pointing at the country. Now, in order to rescue their leader, Otome Village has secretly agreed with the Sand Ninja Village that they will attack Kiba together on the Western Front. If you add us, Konoha should be very difficult, right? Black Earth touched his chin. Otherwise, we will promise them, and when the time comes, we will divide the leaves together, and everyone will have benefits. You young people are always like this. Anoki shook his head. How can you be impulsive and reckless? How can you pick up the girder in the future? Is there anything wrong with what I said? Black Earth frowned. Although no matter how you look at it, the current wooden leaves are not as strong as before, but this does not mean that they will collapse at a touch. Just like in the previous wars, they laughed to the end of each time. So no matter what time, don't underestimate the wooden leaves. Especially their 5th generation Naruto, although young, although he grew up in the era of peace, but just because he was the first to stand up and challenge the power of the nobility, it shows that his vision is absolutely advanced. Onoki sighed heavily. Wind Shadow, they really underestimate this young man. Grandpa, don't you think too much? Kuroto scratched his head in disbelief. Wind Shadow has been acting on the boundary line recently, but I don't see any reaction from Konoha's side. If that Naruto is smart enough, how could he not guard against the change in Shine Village? That's exactly what I can't figure out. Onoki frowned and said, I don't believe that the 5th generation of Naruto would be unable to see the Wind Shadow's attempt, but the situation is so abnormal now, but it makes me think that he must have some conspiracy. So Grandpa, you want to stay out of it? Black Earth raised an eyebrow. Hey, we've had such a hard time in Yenin Village, and now that we have the opportunity to change the old pattern, how can we miss it? Onoki shook his head. We must get involved. Since the 4th generation of Wind Shadows are willing to be the head bird, let him try the background color of the wooden leaves. Onoki knocked on the table. Just help me reply to him with a letter saying that we agree with his proposal, and as long as he attacks, we will definitely follow Iwakuma Village. If he really did it, then let's watch from the sidelines. Just try to find excuses to procrastinate. Also, write a letter to Liang and invite him to participate in the plan of Shine Village to attack Konoha. That guy is a wild bull, and he's a good fool. Once Shine Village and Yunin Village are caught between the left and right, even if that Naruto has any conspiracy, it will definitely be difficult to do so, and then once the wooden leaves can't be stopped, then we will step on the last foot and share the benefits with the Wind Shadow and Thunder Shadow. If Shine Village and Yunin Village step on the thunder, then we will help Konoha in turn. Isn't that treacherous? Kuroto's eyes widened. If we rebel, those 2 ninja villages will definitely hate us. What is the point of the hatred of the losers? Onoki looked like an old god was there. Our Iwakuma village can't afford to lose anymore, and this time we must side with the victor no matter what. By the way, recently you will take an elite squad to the border between Shine Village and Konoha. Take a closer look at their next steps for me. I see. Black Earth nodded. I always feel that the 5th generation of Naruto is not simple. I don't know what he is planning at this moment. Onoki showed a thoughtful expression again. If you let him know what Aoji is doing at this time, he will definitely be surprised. Why hasn't Mrs. Chodao come yet? Nara Yoshino held the teacup and couldn't help but say, it's rare that Reno you held a tea party, and she was so late. Actually, I didn't invite her at all. Yamanaka bit her lip. Well, how could it be? Nara Yoshino showed a puzzled expression. Didn't you say that there would be 3 people at this tea party? The 3 families of pigs and deer butterflies have always been in the same breath. Nara Yoshino has also been friends with Reno Yamanaka and Akimichi's mother for many years, so she has always believed that the 3rd person must be Akimichi's mother. I'm sorry, I don't want to drag you into the water either. Yamanaka Lino showed a melancholy expression, but I really can't help myself now. What's going on? What are you talking about? Nara Yoshino's heart swelled with uneasiness. Mrs. Nara, don't worry. A figure suddenly appeared behind her, and his hands pressed on her shoulders. I believe we will have a pleasant afternoon. This man, of course, is Aoji. Episode 76 Prelude to the 4th War, The Humiliation of Mrs. Nara. It seems that the windmills of the ninja world have begun to turn. In the Underground Research Institute, the Great Snake Maru revealed a sneering smile. The Naruto of the past generations who were used to monitor us have actually been removed twice, which means that the fool of the 4th generation Wind Shadow has begun to act. So are we going to start jailbreaking? The medicine man pushed the glasses. Why jailbreak? The Great Snake Maru picked up the cold scalpel and began to dissect the corpse on the operating table. Since the 5 generations of Naruto are willing to provide all the resources I need, what is the difference between being here and going out, and Aoji gave him a seductive condition. He confesses that he is arresting Fei Duan who has an immortal body, and if he gets it, he will be transported to study eternal life as material. The immortal body. There was a hint of excitement in the snake pupils of the Great Snake Maru. I'm also tired of the tedium of immortality, and if I can really use this opportunity to make a breakthrough, it would be a grateful thing. However, the current 5th generation of Naruto should already be in a mess, right? Hopefully there will be no accidents with his plan. That Inin village? The medicine man asked very cautiously, do you really want them to be used by that person? What's so bad about that? The Great Snake Maru smiled indifferently. Power, war, death, winners and losers, what do these have to do with us? Whether it is survival or destruction, this is the fate of ninjas. The medicine man was silent. But it was clear to him in his heart that the prelude to war had been blown. 3 more sand ninja squads have penetrated deep into our hinterland. In Naruto's office, Shikahisa stood across from his desk and reported with a straight face, according to the information summarized by Kaichi's side, our border has almost been completely infiltrated. There is no doubt that the village of Sand Ninja has torn the alliance treaty with us. Where do you think their primary goal is? Aoji raised an eyebrow. It should be Kijinzen. Lugio obviously already had the answer. I think they are ready to use Murin Mountain as a node to cover the hinterland of our western front, and at the same time use this as a transit station that can echo the follow-up action of Yunin Village and Yunin Village. Do you think those 2 villages will also go to war? Yunin Village is bound to join forces with Sand Ninja, and today's clues confirm this, and they have sufficient motivations themselves. Lugio explained, we have had a fierce war with Yunin Village before, and the enmity between the 2 sides has not yet subsided. There is almost no contact, and they have been coveting the fertile country of the Fire Country for a long time. As for the Iwakuma village, although they have also made some moves. But I personally think it's all a bluff. If what I expected was correct, they should have wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight, and see who wins and loses and who wins, and who they will help. So your opinion is? Aoji asked with a smile. Yunin Village can ignore it, Yunin Village can say it later. The most urgent task now is to go all out to crack down on Sand Ninja, knock out the mountains and shock the tiger, and let other people who are plotting against others have some scruples. Shikaka gave his advice very faithfully. It's a really good proposition. Aoji nodded satisfactorily. Then where do you think our primary goal should be? Didn't you already have an answer to that? Lugio revealed a knowing smile. Although it sounds like you are patting yourself on the back, based on some of your past performances, I think with your wisdom, you must have planned all this long ago. So what do you think my arrangement would be? Aoji raised an eyebrow with interest. Lure the enemy deep and surprise behind enemy lines. Lugio smiled slightly. If I'm not mistaken, your target is Shine Village itself. Worthy of being the first wise man of Konoha. Aoji nodded with satisfaction. I even guessed my next step. But I admire you even more. Shikahisa said heartily, whether it is to intimidate daimyo or to turn passive into active this time, everything you do seems simple, but every step is beyond the limit that ordinary people can think of. You don't have to tout me so much. Aoji smiled calmly. The main reason why my plan was able to succeed was because the 4th generation of Wind Shadows looked down on me too much, and he thought he was taking the initiative to attack, but he didn't know that I was drawing out his main force. The depth of the Fire Nation is far greater than that of the Wind Country, and this is our greatest advantage in this war. Sand Ninja does not dare to go deep alone. Once the front line is too long, it will be easily cut off by us, so we can completely exchange space for time to contain their main forces in the territory of the Fire Nation. Once they learn at this point that their base camp has been lost. Aoji revealed a cold smile. When the time comes to be in a dilemma and lose all morale, that's when we destroy the Sand Ninja in one fell swoop. This mistake of the 4 generations of Wind Shadows will affect the entire Shine Village. Lugio first sighed, and then couldn't help but say, however, since the troops of the Sand Ninja have all moved to the border, it is almost time for our surprise attack troops to be launched, right? If you delay time, I am afraid that it will be self-defeating. Moreover, even if the 4th generation of Wind Shadows did not expect that we would counterattack the village of Sand Ninja, I think we would also arrange relatively sufficient forces to defend the base camp, and unless the war was tight, they would be drawn to the front line one by one. Rest assured, everything is in my calculations. Aoji smiled calmly. Soon, I will burst into a brilliant firework inside the village of Sakura. As for your next task, in order not to let the 4 generations of Wind and Shadow detect the abnormality, or to organize some decent resistance at the border, and then gradually withdraw and attract them to continue to move forward, this difficult task is entrusted to you. I will certainly live up to your expectations. Lugio said hurriedly and seriously. It was good. Aoji nodded satisfactorily. Then you can go down and make arrangements. Lugio quickly and respectfully withdrew from Ming. After he left, Aoji sighed leisurely and looked down at the bottom of the desk. From just now until now, there has been a woman kneeling there. She is Nara Yoshino. At this time, her eyes were full of humiliation and embarrassment. Since the end of that unforgettable tea party, she has often been amused by Aoji in various ways. Although he had fantasized about resisting countless times, he threatened the survival of the entire Nara clan, coupled with the persuasion of his friend Rino Yamanaka, causing her to be broken through the bottom line that should not be broken again and again. It's like a doll that has lost its personality. Episode 77 The Nine Tails Liberated, The Night of Fireworks. This mission is very important, and I hope everyone can do a good job of enlightenment. Facing the carefully selected ninjas under the high platform, Yu Xian held the railing with a straight face. This time the 20 squads, each team is a dark side plus 4 special upper ninjas, can be regarded as the backbone of the entire village. Your task is to organize a large-scale Fancious attack and create opportunities for the attack of the Shainin squad. Lord Naruto's order is very simple. In the process of the retreat of the main force of the Sand Ninja, we must make them pay a heavy price, and we must not let them return alive for more than 1/10. However, if you want to complete this task, you need to fight flexibly even more, and you must not sacrifice easily. None of your lives can be wasted. Yu Xian raised the wine glass in his hand. When everyone returns alive, we will drink a cup of celebration wine together. Yes. The ninjas on the high platform shouted in unison. Under the banner of the vague will of fire, Konoha ninjas have always been very cohesive, and now they are fighting to defend their homeland, and the morale of the crowd is even higher. Only the moonlight in the crowd had mixed feelings. Although the person on the high platform was his former lover, neither side had ever held hands. The only thing that proves the past is the memories and feelings of the beginning. However, when the moonlight and wind gazed at the heroic figure, she found that she had not paid any attention to herself, not even a casual glance, as if she had never existed in her heart. This made his heart even more mixed. But he has also clearly realized that the two sides are no longer of the same class. He is an ordinary special ninja. Is one of the people who are directed. But she has become a high-powered shadow captain. She was a goddess he would never get. But the saddest thing is that although the white moonlight in his heart is the white moonlight in his heart, it is a meat vessel that Aoji can use at will in various ways. She was like a little house with 3 doors. Every door was casually passed in and out by Aoji. As the master of the moon sunset, as the master of the entire wooden leaf, as the future master of the whole world, at this time, Aoji appeared in a place that everyone had not expected. A round of bright moon is like a hook, shining on the Shain village that has exhausted the main force. The roof of the wind shadow building. As the space distorted in a stripe, Aoji's figure appeared out of thin air. This is the power of Shinwei. And of course, he brought not only himself, but also the program that had already been prepared. And 3 and 4 generations of dirt rebirth. Let's get started. Aoji's eyes had opened the Eternal Kaleidoscope, forming Susanoo in full armor outside his body. Let's surprise them together. Aoji overlooked the unsuspecting village of Satsuki and gave the order to kill. Tonight, it will be the sleepless night of the Sand Ninjas. So the 4 Shadow Masters immediately began to act separately. The 4th generation of Wind Shadows has personally led the invasion of the Fire Nation, and as a pillar of human power, Iai Luo has also been brought to the front line by him, although there are still many elites left in the village, but they will certainly not be opponents of Aoji and others. On this night, the village of Shain was tragically ravaged. When Temari was awakened by the fighting and screams outside, he hurriedly picked up his iron fan and rushed out of the door. Has an enemy launched a surprise attack on the village? Being able to attack silently, of course, it could not be a large army, but Temari never expected that what appeared in front of him was an incomparably tragic picture. Ignoring all harm, the 3 generations of Naruto poured out all kinds of ninjutsu. Let the Sand Ninjas really feel what a doctor of ninjutsu is. The 4 generations of fire shadows were like electric light, and they had killed countless people in a haunted way, leaving only invisible remnants for everyone. Tsunade opened and closed all the way, leaving only ruins wherever he went. The most terrifying thing is that Susanoo, who is controlled by Aoji, runs rampant in the village, unstoppable, killing people like pinching an ant to death, causing countless deaths and injuries in a matter of moments. What's going on here? Is the end of the world coming? Including Temari, the Sand Ninjas who stayed in the village were full of shock and despair. They never expected that their side was obviously the one who took the initiative to attack, but they were the first to be hit by the opposite side to blow up the nest. This one-sided battle will only have one outcome. That is the complete failure of Shain Village. As the footsteps of dawn gradually sounded, when the sun rose from the horizon, the seemingly impregnable village of Shain had been reduced to rubble. Almost all the ninjas who remained in the village had been exterminated. Many civilians died in this disaster. Between the rubble and the ruins, the handbow slumped on the ground, looking at the devastated homeland in despair. and the sadness in his eyes could almost drip blood and tears. That's what you deserve. Aoji had already withdrawn Susanoo and stood calmly in front of Temaru. From the moment your father made up his mind to invade Kiba, everyone in your village is no longer innocent. War is like this, the people and the rulers are one and the same. Aoji said coldly. I'm going to kill you. Temari jumped up like an electric shock and threw himself frantically at Aoji before being pressed to the ground by him. What about your iron fan? What about your wind? Do you still look like a ninja when you rush over like this? The corners of Aoji's mouth outlined a contemptuous smile. Kill me. Tears of despair welled up in Temari's eyes. I'm not going to kill you. Aoji shook his head. Even if you catch me, don't try to threaten my father. The hand bow almost crushed his teeth. Does he have the qualifications to be blackmailed? Aoji sneered, now that you have lost the sand ninja of the base camp, what fighting spirit can you speak of? What else is there to talk about invading Wooden Leaves? It would be nice if he could return to this land alive with the main force. So what do you want to do? In Temari's eyes was endless hatred. You're a little young now, but in 2 years you'll be fine. Aoji smiled indifferently, when you are a little more mature, I will let you join my harem, of course, if you really don't cooperate, I can only domesticate you into a meat vessel that has lost yourself. That's what I'm going to do, to capture you alive. That's your only value. Episode 78 According to the judgment of the beauty of meditation, the movement of Yunnin. What? Has the village been razed to the ground? Within the territory of the Fire Nation, the Wind Shadow Luo Sha, who had received the news, gritted his teeth and said word by word, this, no, can. At this time, he only felt that the sky was spinning. Although he brought the most core combat power to the front line and used it to break through the defense line set by Konoha, as a leader, he did not neglect the defense of the base camp, not only arranged a large number of dark sentries on the periphery. There are also many powerful Shangnin left in the village. The environment of the village itself is very easy to defend and difficult to attack, coupled with his carefully arranged defensive forces, even if it encounters the large-scale invasion of other ninja villages, there is no reason to completely fall overnight. Damn, this must be fake news made by Konoha. Luo Sha very much hoped that he could think so, and hoped that what he got was indeed false information, but the news returned from various channels was surprisingly consistent, so that he finally extinguished that little bit of illusion. I have obviously set up a heavy sentry, and it seems that Kiba has mastered the powerful time-space ninjutsu. At this point, I can only retreat. Rosa made a half-dazed decision in the tent, inevitably making a difficult decision. It's unrealistic to continue attacking now. Although ninja battles do not require much logistical supplies, it is impossible to exert any combat effectiveness without the loss of the base camp, and forced attacks will only lead to more painful defeats. By now, Rosa could only swallow the bitter wine he had brewed by his own hands. Lord Wind Shadow, now he wants to leave? Speaking was a cold-looking teenager, who was the Junmaru, who the Great Snake Maru relied on the most. Now that we have gone deep into the hinterland of the Fire Nation, it is easy to enter. In front of us is a vast field, but if we want to retreat, since the other side can surprise the village of Shain, it is possible to cut off our rear stronghold. Coupled with the serious lack of morale of the Sand Ninjas, Junmalu looked indifferent and said, even if you want to withdraw, it will be 9 deaths. Instead of this, it is better to make a big fuss in the Fire Kingdom, kill the base camp of Konoha, and meet with them for the real episode. If I hadn't been seduced by you, how could I have fallen into such a passive situation? In the face of Junmalu's proposal as an ally, Luo Sha angrily lifted the table. Continuing to attack is just in vain, you are just trying to use us to rescue the Great Snake Maru. It looks like we can't reach an agreement. Junmalu shook his head coldly, since that's the case, then let's part ways here for our Otoshi and Sand Ninja. He turned and strode away from the tent. Damn it. After losing his ally to the village, Luo Sha clutched his hair in pain. Am I really wrong? Shouldn't he really underestimate that Aoji, and really shouldn't he start this war against Konoha? It turns out that the 4 generations of Wind Shadows are indeed wrong. News of the destruction of the village soon spread throughout the ninja world, including the village of Kirito, far beyond the mainland. Fortunately, our Misty village did not make any rash moves. Terumi put down the document in her hand. Obviously, under the leadership of that Aoji, the current Konoha has not weakened, but has become incomparably terrible, and the once standing Sand Ninja village is afraid that it will withdraw from the stage of history. Wouldn't it? Ching, who was wearing an eye patch in his right eye, couldn't help but say, although he was unexpectedly taken to the old nest, the 4th generation of Wind Shadows is still there, the main force is still there, and the one-tail pillar force is still there, and the Sand Ninja Village has not hurt the fundamentals. But that's sooner or later. Terumi smiled and shook her head. Since Kiba destroyed the base camp of the Sand Ninja, will he still let go of their main force? And it's clear that Naruto probably mastered powerful space-time ninjutsu. That's why I was able to raid the village of Shine overnight. Now that the morale of the Sand Ninja has been lost, but the main backbone of the Wind Shadow is still there, if I am Naruto and have the time-space ninjutsu suitable for raids, then the next target must be the head of the Wind Shadow. Once you can kill the Wind Shadow, the remaining Sand Ninja is just the turtle in the urn. So what do we do? Sheen was suddenly shocked. Once the Sand Ninja is completely destroyed by the wooden leaf, the balance of the ninja world can be completely broken. We don't need to do anything. Terumi smiled a little. Our Wuing village is hanging out overseas, although the past generations of Naruto have ambitions to touch the Great Lu, but in my opinion, this is all a futile move. It is better to develop with peace of mind and live peacefully with the Great Lu. Now it should be a Wakama village and Yunin village that should be afraid. We don't need to be shocked at all. Let's first look at the reactions of Earth Shadow and Thunder Shadow. Terumi revealed a charming smile. I hope they will continue to fight with Kiba. If they can fight into a mess, it will be better. The more these ninja villages lose, the better our lives will be. Tuing is a cunning old man who should not take risks easily. Sheen couldn't help but say, I think most of the Iwakama village will have snakes and rats at both ends, and only Lei Ying may really continue to fight against Konoha. Terumi nodded in agreement. The same goes for her thoughts. And the facts soon proved that their point was correct. No matter what, we must help the Sand Ninja. In the Thunder Shadow office of Yunin village, the fourth generation of Thunder Shadow patted the table angrily. If the Sand Ninja village is destroyed like this, the Fire Nation will definitely take advantage of the situation to annex the Wind Country, and once they succeed, the future Wooden Leaves will have no one to stop. He was telling the truth. The land of the Fire Nation is rich, but it is full of enemies, and if you can clear the troubles of the Sand Hidden village, then you will be more comfortable dealing with other ninja villages in the future. But it's not advisable to move lightly. As Lei Ying's confidant, the blonde and white-skinned, choppy Samui looked indifferent and said, the destruction of the base camp in Shine village is our lesson from the past. So what do you say? Lei Ying let out 2 rough breaths. As a Thunder Shadow, you should sit in the village to avoid the repetition of the Wooden Leaves. Samui crossed his waist with one hand and said confidently, as for the attack, leave it to me to take care of it. I will personally lead the team and put enough pressure on Konoha so that the main force of Wind Shadow has a chance to withdraw to the Wind Country. Episode 79 The Captured Female Ninjas. Dawn begins to move. Has Yunren really begun to act? Yes. In Naruto's office, Tsukazuki respectfully reported, they have launched a powerful offensive from the Eastern Front, and now they have taken several important strongholds. It seems that the tactical level of Yunnin's commander is good. It was achieved so quickly. Aoji sat in a chair, playing with the silence in his arms, while showing a calm smile. They put pressure on us so hard, obviously to help the 4 generations of Wind and Shadow out of trouble. It seems that Yunnin understands the truth of the cold lips and teeth. So how should we respond? Yu Shiyan said, our main forces have already been sent to the Western Front, the main force used to gradually encroach on the Wind and Shadow, and now the Eastern Front is empty, and it is difficult to repeat the old techniques of Yunnin village, if they continue to invade. Rest assured, I've already made arrangements. Aoji motioned for Shizune to lean forward and put his hands on the desk of his desk. Everything is done according to the original plan. Aoji began to gasp for breath. As for the attack on the side of Unin village, it will soon be solved by me. I see. Tsukazuki nodded, and seeing that Aoji had already begun to exercise, he respectfully stepped back and closed the office door. The time came 2 hours later. Aoji let go of Shizune, who was already paralyzed, helped her get dressed, and went to the bathroom together for a shower, and then left the Naruto building refreshed. He came to the independent prison that had been specially established after becoming Naruto. There are quite a few incarcerations here. Now, in addition to the Red Lotus who was loyal to the Great Snake Maru, there was also Temaru, a prisoner who had just been captured. As well as yukata robes. And sacrifices. They were all captives who had been captured by Aoji when he attacked the village of Satoshi. Yukata long hair is dark and the expression is soft. Sacrifice a short hair, simple and competent. Of course, now they are just little girls who have not yet grown up, but as long as they have a few years, they can develop into beautiful women. Aoji locked the 2 men and Temari together. Over the next few years, he was ready to take them all into his pocket. Although Temari would certainly resist with determination, the other two were not necessarily so determined. As long as they can be softened first, they can have a subtle impact on the handbow, which is what it means to keep them together. Of course, Aoji came this time not for them, but for the Red Lotus, who had been locked up for a while. What do you want to do? Seeing Aoji appear in front of him, Red Lotus's face turned gloomy. Do you want to persuade me to betray Lord Snake Maru? That's impossible. Nothing in this world is impossible. Aoji walked leisurely behind the restrained Red Lotus and gently pressed his hands on her shoulders. I heard that there is one of the most convenient and effective ways to reach a woman's soul. Do you know which one? Red Lotus's face changed suddenly. You promised me that as long as I provide useful information, you will not attack me. Oh? Is it? You recall it carefully. Aoji's hand stretched downwards. Did I give you any specific promises? You are shameless. Red Lotus twisted her body desperately, trying to break free of Aoji's clutches. But all in vain. So after 2 hours, a satisfied Aoji left the cell, leaving only Red Lotus, who had lost everything. He went back to his home. First he took a bath, then he went to the dojo, put on a black robe embroidered with red clouds, and put on a spiral-shaped mask that only exposed his right eye. Then space begins to warp. A moment later, Aoji appeared in the still drizzling rain country. Yahiko Tendo was sitting on the edge of the tower, watching the rain. Xiaonan stood by his side. Are you here? Yahiko, who was a corpse, did not have the slightest expression on his face. Has it been time for us to act? Yes. Aoji nodded. The war has plunged the major ninja villages into a quagmire. Our plan can start early, using pain to heal peace, and the sooner we can achieve this, the less sacrifice we will be. Is that what you did to help Konoha? Yahiko said expressionlessly, being able to appear silently in the village of Sakura, and also causing the destructive power to destroy the entire ninja village. This is something that only your pupil power can do. And you're not the only one who shoots. So, how did you establish a relationship with that 5th-generation Naruto? Or is it? Yahiko turned his head coldly to look at Aoji. Now you have the idea of returning to Konoha's arms again? I'm just trying to mix the water a little more. Aoji's expression was hidden behind the mask. Even if my own family can be destroyed, how can Konoha become my bondage? Rest assured, our goals are always the same. Then, the capture of the 9 tails is entrusted to you. Yahiko stood up. As for Ichigo and Neo, I'll leave these 2 to you. Aoji said, you can capture the 3 tails to the 8 tails as soon as possible, especially pay attention to the 8-tailed human pillar force. I heard that he can perfect the tail beast. It is not so easy to catch, you better do it yourself. I'll take a trip myself. Yahiko nodded from the beginning. Then I'll quit first. As Aoji was leaving, he glanced at Xiaonan again, and then he unleashed his divine power and disappeared in the distorted space. He seems a little different. When Aoji left, Xiaonan suddenly said, although the appearance, voice, and tone of speech are very similar to before, there are always some subtle differences. Maybe it is another person's disguise. It doesn't matter. Yahiko said lightly, since his pupil power has not changed, he doesn't need to care so much. Maybe it's just because he disappeared for too long, so it will make people have an illusion, but no matter what, our plan will never change. So? Xiaonan raised an eyebrow. Notify all the dormant members and let them get started. Yahiko looked out at the rain curtain. There are too many blood and tears in this world. It's time for us to put an end to this sad thing. The act of capturing the tailed beast. It's officially on. Episode 80, The Death of the 4 Generations of Wind Shadows, The Humiliation of Chiyo's mother-in-law. Rosa felt his head hurt more and more. Ever since he gave the order to retreat, he found that it was indeed not easy to leave. Konoha had already dispatched a large number of elite squads, almost 24 hours a day without interruption, so that the already demoralized sand ninjas were even more panicked, and they could receive reports of disappearance at any time. The attrition of the troops has become more and more serious. Moreover, as the sand ninjas became more and more tired, the attacks on the Konoha side became more and more powerful, and almost every time several upper ninja squads acted together, avoiding real attacks and attacking the weak links of the sand ninjas. These Konoha ninjas are like a group of people who come and go without a trace, rapidly nibbling at the wheat fields made up of the sand ninja troops. In order to reduce the losses of the troops, Luo Sha had personally attacked dozens of times, and after repelling dozens of attacks with the strength of the shadow level, the morale of the troops had finally improved slightly. but it also places a heavy burden on him. Every time you receive enemy information, then rush to the scene of the incident, then fight, and then continue this cycle. After these days of continuous rotation, Rosa obviously felt that he was about to be unable to hold on. Originally, when I brought AI Luo to the battlefield, he hoped to come in handy in the battle of attacking the battlefield, but now that he was facing the constant harassment of the enemy, the role of AI Luo instantly became smaller. And during this time, I Love Luo's mood has become more and more manic and unstable. It's a failure. After once again repelling the harassment of the wooden leaves, Rosa returned to his tent tiredly, while sighing that I love Luo without controversy. He could only put his last hope on the side of Yunin village, hoping that their attack on the eastern front would relieve the pressure on the other side. As for Wakama village, at this time, Rosa already knew that they could not count on it at all. Damn, if I can escape back this time. Luo Sha gritted his teeth secretly, and the thought of revenge moved in his heart. Even if he endured humiliation and burden, he must return the tooth with a tooth in the future. You have no future. Suddenly a voice sounded outside the tent. A figure walked in. Who are you? A chill flashed in Luo Sha's eyes, and the gravel around him began to surge like a tidal wave. If the other party is not a person of the sand, then it can only be the person of the wooden leaf. This is the base camp of the Sand Ninja Army. Being able to appear here quietly can obviously only be the effect of time-space ninjutsu. So, the other party is the culprit who destroyed the village of Shain. Lucky to meet, in the next 5th generation of Naruto. An eternal kaleidoscope appeared in Aoji's eyes. This time I came to take your life. Sure enough, it was him. Anger rushed to Luo Sha's sanity, and a battle of shadows and shadows broke out. The battle immediately spread to a large area around it. The ninjas who heard the movement wanted to support the wind shadow, but they were reborn by the 3 of the dirt. Blocked by the generations and the 4 generations, even if they rushed into the battlefield with their lives and deaths, it still did not change the fate of Luo Sha being taken from the first rank. As the shadow of a village, Luo Sha's strength can only be said to be okay. Of course, it will not be Aoji's opponent. Moreover, after this period of attrition, his combat effectiveness has now seriously declined, so that it did not take long for Aoji to end the battle. He then used the Flying Thunder God technique to leave the battlefield. The sand ninjas who lost their leader were even more godless, and they almost collapsed in despair, and later they once again elected a temporary leader, but they were soon executed again with the beheading tactic. Although the chakra of Aoji was not enough to destroy the entire army alone, it was still easy to take away a head rank below the shadow level in the crowd of 10,000 people. In this way, Sha Shinobi has always been in a situation where the dragons are leaderless. Due to the rising pressure caused by internal and external difficulties, they eventually lost their fighting spirit completely, mutinied, fled, committed suicide, and various scenes were staged in turn, which eventually evolved into collective surrender. Since all those who disagree are dead, Aoji led the elite backbone of Konoha and condescended to face the defeated soldiers of the Sand Ninjas. Then, from this moment on, the Sand Ninja is already history, and you will become the ninjas of Konoha. I will divide more than a dozen settlements for you outside of Kiba Ninen village. Of course, as time goes by, you will gradually integrate into the leaves, which is also conducive to the stability of the whole for me, so you don't have to worry about being ostracized. But before accepting your surrender, I have 2 conditions. Aoji glanced coldly. First, where is Chiyo's mother-in-law? The old man is here. Chiyo's mother-in-law came out of the crowd. Aoji originally thought that she was old enough to be left in Sakura village, but that night there was no trace of her at all, so he expected her to be recruited into the expedition. When I see it now, it is. I heard that Chiyo's mother-in-law has a secret technique called rebirth of herself, right? Aoji smiled and looked at Chiyo. It's true. Chiyo nodded cooperatively. Then you can pick out 10 of your companions who are present, and you won't have to do anything for the next month, and you must let them all grasp their own rebirth. It's simply impossible. Chiyo's mother-in-law was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but say, rebirth is not a low-level ninjutsu, a month is simply not enough, and why should so many people learn this ninjutsu, are you? You don't have a choice. Aoji coldly interrupted Chiyo's mother-in-law. I can honestly tell you that my purpose is to use them to exchange my life for my life when needed. All I ask for is 10 people, and 10 people's lives can be exchanged for the peace of all. Isn't that good enough? Aoji smiled sarcastically again. Aren't you already used to sacrificing your own people anyway? At that time, as the hero of the Sand Ninja, Yitsong was not betrayed by you to Kirasame village after changing hands? What is so difficult about putting together 10 sacrifices now? As soon as she heard Aoji mention this old story, Chiyo's mother-in-law was dumbfounded. That incident was indeed an eternal stain on the village of Shine. If you think a month is too hasty, if you think this secret art is too difficult to learn, then try to pick out some geniuses. After all, my conditions cannot be changed. If you can't do that, then the victims aren't just 10. I see. At this time, Chiyo's mother-in-law suddenly sensed Aoji's intentions. He not only wanted to create 10 life-for-life tool people, but also wanted to cut off the talents of the next generation of sand ninja. Such a fact made her feel endless humiliation in her heart. The humiliation of being a prisoner of the order. Even if you know that the other party has a sinister intention, you don't have the right to refuse at all. Well, you say. Chiyo's mother-in-law suppressed her grief and indignation, and said hesitantly, what is the second condition?